The white halls of the Galactic Council building stretched far into the distance. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked slowly down the center path, her black boots making soft clicking sounds on the smooth floor. Around her, hundreds of alien beings sat in tall chairs, all looking down at her with their strange eyes. Sarah wore her best Earth uniform, dark blue with silver buttons and the small flag of United Earth on her shoulder. She had practiced her speech 1,000 times. Today she would defend her people. Today she would show these aliens that humans deserved a place in the galaxy. The council chamber was huge. The ceiling went up so high that Sarah could barely see the top. Lights of every color hung in the air, casting rainbow shadows on the walls. The aliens came in all shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant birds with crystal feathers. Others were tall and thin like walking trees. A few glowed with their own light. At the front of the room sat the High Chancellor. He was a Zephyrian, a being made of what looked like living glass. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "The human species stands accused," the Chancellor said. His words echoed through the chamber. "In 50 years since first contact, they have shown only violence and aggression. They have built weapons in their solar system. They have refused to follow our peaceful ways." Sarah stepped forward to the speaking platform. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her voice steady. "Honored council members, humans are not violent by nature. We build defenses because we must protect ourselves. We have families, children, hopes for the future just like all of you." A delegate from the bird-like species spoke next. Her feathers were bright red and they rustled as she moved. "The humans have wars on their own planet. They fight each other constantly. How can we trust them not to fight us?" "We have learned from our mistakes," Sarah replied. "Earth is peaceful now. We united as one species when we met you. We put aside our old conflicts to join something greater." But the aliens were not listening. One by one they stood up to speak against humanity. The Karathi said humans bred too quickly and would spread like a disease. The Veltans complained that human music was too loud and hurt their sensitive hearing. The Zephyrians claimed human emotions were too strong and made them unpredictable. "You see," said a delegate who looked like a walking plant, "they cannot control themselves. They feel too much. They want too much. They will bring chaos to our orderly galaxy." Sarah tried to speak again, but the Chancellor raised one crystal hand. "The evidence is clear. The human species is too dangerous to remain part of galactic civilization. They threaten the peace we have maintained for 3,000 years. But you do not understand us," Sarah said, her voice growing louder. "Yes, we feel strongly. Yes, we want to explore and grow. But these are not weaknesses. These are our strengths. We can help the galaxy become better, stronger, more alive." The Chancellor turned to face the other delegates. "All those in favor of expelling the human species from the Galactic Council?" Hands, claws, tentacles, and other alien limbs rose into the air. Sarah counted them with growing horror. 100, 200, 500. Still they kept rising. All opposed? Only one hand went up. A small alien in the back corner that Sarah had never seen before. "The vote is final," the Chancellor announced. "The human species is hereby banished from all galactic territories. They are forbidden from leaving their solar system. All trade agreements are canceled. All communication channels are closed. They will remain in quarantine until they prove they can be civilized." Sarah felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "You cannot do this. We have rights. We are citizens of the galaxy now." "You were citizens," the Chancellor corrected. "Now you are exiles." As Sarah watched in shock, a shimmering blue wall of energy appeared around the entire chamber. She could see through it, but she knew what it meant. The same barrier was being created around Earth's solar system at that very moment. Humanity was being locked away from the rest of the universe. "Please," Sarah begged, "give us another chance. Let us prove we can change." The Chancellor turned his back on her. "The decision is made. Guards, escort the human from our presence." Two tall aliens in silver armor stepped forward. They did not touch Sarah, but they made it clear she had to leave. As she walked back down the long white corridor, Sarah could hear the aliens behind her already talking about other business, as if humanity had never existed. Outside the council building, Sarah's small ship waited on the landing pad. Her pilot, Captain Torres, was standing by the door. He took one look at her face and knew what had happened. "They said no?" Torres asked. "Worse than no," Sarah replied. "They said we are too dangerous to exist in their galaxy. They are cutting us off completely." As their ship lifted off from the alien world, Sarah looked down at the beautiful cities below. Crystal towers reached toward the sky. Flying vehicles moved in perfect patterns through the air. Gardens full of impossible plants covered every surface. It was like a paradise that humanity would never see again. Torres set course for home. The journey would take 3 weeks, but Sarah knew that by the time they arrived, the energy barrier would already be in place. Earth would be alone in the darkness. What do we tell them back home? Torres asked. Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were celebrating their decision to get rid of the troublesome humans. They thought they had solved a problem. They thought they had made the galaxy safer. We tell them the truth, Sarah said finally. We tell them that the Galactic Council thinks we are too dangerous to join their perfect society. And then what? Sarah smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a wolf might give before hunting. Then we show them what dangerous really means. They think keeping us locked in one solar system will make us weak. They are about to learn that caging a human only makes them more determined to break free. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying them back toward Earth. Behind them, the aliens continued their peaceful, orderly, boring lives. Ahead of them waited humanity. Angry, creative, determined humanity. The Galactic Council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. As the alien world disappeared behind them, Sarah began planning. The Council wanted to contain humanity to one star system. Fine, let them try. Humans had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. They had climbed from caves to spaceships in just a few thousand years. Being locked away from the galaxy would not stop them. It would only force them to become something greater than the Council could possibly imagine. How long until we reach Earth? Sarah asked. 19 days, 4 hours, Torres replied. Good, Sarah said. That gives us time to plan. The Council thinks this is the end of humanity's story. They are wrong. This is just the beginning. 25 years had passed since the Galactic Council locked humanity away from the stars. Earth looked very different now. Where once there had been separate countries fighting each other, now there was only one government, the United Earth Alliance. Where once there had been pollution and waste, now clean energy-powered gleaming cities that reached into the sky. Admiral Marcus Rivera stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station 7, looking down at the planet below. Earth was beautiful, more beautiful than it had ever been. But Marcus was not looking at Earth. He was looking at the ships. Hundreds of them filled the space around Earth's orbit. They were not like the old ships that had carried humans to Mars and the Moon. These were generation ships, massive vessels designed to carry entire cities through space. Each one was several miles long and could hold 50,000 people. Impressive, is it not? Said Dr. Elena Vasquez as she joined Marcus at the viewing window. Elena was the head of the Colonial Project, the woman responsible for designing humanity's escape from their solar prison. 17 ships ready to launch, Marcus said. 2 million volunteers sleeping peacefully in their pods, waiting to wake up on new worlds. Sometimes I still cannot believe we built all this. Elena smiled. The Council thought cutting us off from their technology would make us weak. Instead, it forced us to become creative. We had to invent everything ourselves, it was true. When the energy barrier had first appeared around the solar system, many humans had given up hope. They thought they would be trapped forever in their small corner of space. But others had seen it as a challenge. The breakthrough had come from Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a physicist who had been studying the Council's barrier itself. She discovered that the energy field only blocked the known paths through space, the established trade routes that aliens had used for thousands of years. But space was vast, and there were other ways to travel. Show me the new drive system again, Marcus said. Elena led him to a different viewing port where they could see the engineering section of the nearest generation ship. At the heart of each vessel was something that would have seemed impossible 25 years ago, a quantum tunnel drive. The aliens use their established hyperspace lanes, Elena explained. They follow roads built by their ancestors long ago. But we learned to punch holes directly through space itself. Our ships can go anywhere, not just where the Council allows travel. Marcus nodded. The technology was based on theories that human scientists had been working on for decades before first contact. The Council had dismissed these ideas as primitive and wrong. They had been happy to sell humans their own faster-than-light travel systems instead, but being cut off had forced humanity to perfect their own designs. The result was better than anything the Council used. Human ships could travel to places no alien had ever seen. How many worlds have the scout ships found? Marcus asked. Over 300 planets suitable for human life, Elena replied. And Marcus, we are not the only ones the Council has forgotten. This was the most interesting discovery. As human scout ships had explored beyond the known galaxy, they had found other species. Small groups of aliens living on remote worlds far from the Council's attention. Many of them had never even heard of the great galactic government that claimed to rule the stars. The Kethvar on Kepler 442b welcomed our contact team with open arms, Elena continued. They have been alone for centuries, thinking they were the only intelligent life in the universe. When our people arrived and offered friendship, they were overjoyed. Marcus had read the reports. The Kethvar were a peaceful people who looked somewhat like giant cats with opposable thumbs. They were skilled farmers and artists, but had never developed space travel. They had been amazed by human technology and eager to learn. What about the others? 12 species so far have agreed to work with us. None of them trust the Council. Most have never even met anyone from the Council. To them, humans are the first galactic civilization they have encountered. This gave Marcus an idea that had been growing in his mind for months. Elena, what if we are thinking about this wrong? What do you mean? The Council banished us because they said we were too dangerous for their civilization. But what if we do not want to join their civilization? What if we build our own? Elena's eyes grew wide as she understood what Marcus was suggesting. A human empire, allied with species that choose to work with us instead of being forced to obey the Council. Exactly. The Council controls maybe half the galaxy, the old established systems connected by their ancient trade routes. But the other half is wide open. Thousands of worlds that have never seen an alien ship, species that have been waiting for contact for centuries. They stood in silence for a moment, looking out at the massive ships that would soon carry humanity to the stars. Each ship was not just a transport vessel. It was a complete mobile colony, with farms, factories, schools, and everything needed to build a new civilization. The first wave launches next week, Elena said. 17 ships to 17 different systems. If your plan works, in 50 years we will not be refugees from Earth. We will be the center of our own galactic power. Marcus thought about Ambassador Chen's final message from the Council chambers 25 years ago. She had promised that humanity would show the aliens what dangerous really meant. Maybe this was what she had envisioned. Do you think the volunteers understand what they are signing up for? Marcus asked. They understand perfectly, Elena replied. Every single person on those ships chose to leave Earth behind. They could have stayed and lived comfortable lives in the solar system. Instead, they decided to risk everything for the chance to build something new among the stars. The people sleeping in the generation ships came from every nation on Earth. Scientists and farmers, teachers and engineers, artists and soldiers. They had spent years training for life on alien worlds. They had learned new languages to speak with alien allies. They had prepared for challenges that no human had ever faced before. What about Earth itself? Marcus asked. Earth will remain the heart of human space, Elena said, but it will not be a prison anymore. It will be the capital of a new kind of empire, one built on friendship instead of conquest, on exploration instead of control. A soft chime sounded through the station. It was time for the final briefing before launch. In 1 week, the first wave of colony ships would leave the solar system forever. They would carry with them not just people, but hope for humanity's future among the stars. Marcus and Elena walked together toward the conference room, where ship captains and colony leaders waited for their final orders. These brave men and women would be the first humans to build new homes on alien worlds since the banishment began. As they entered the briefing room, Marcus looked around at the faces of humanity's future leaders. They were young and old, from every continent on Earth representing the best of what humans could be. In their eyes he saw determination, courage, and something else, excitement. These people were not running away from the Council's rejection. They were running toward something better. They were going to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars not by begging for permission, but by earning it through their actions. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus began, in 7 days you will make history. You will be the first humans to leave our solar system since the Council locked us away. But more than that, you will be the founders of a new human civilization that spans the galaxy. The room erupted in applause. These people were ready. Humanity was ready. The Council had tried to cage them. Soon they would learn that humans cannot be caged. The sun of Kepler 442b rose slowly over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold that no human had ever seen before. Colony Administrator James Okafor stood on the observation platform of New Geneva, the first human city built outside of the solar system. Below him, the city was already busy with morning activity. It had been 15 years since the generation ship Destiny had arrived in this system. What they had found here changed everything humans thought they knew about the galaxy. The planet was not empty. It was home to the Kethvar, a species that looked like a cross between cats and bears with long arms and clever hands perfect for building. When the human ships had arrived, the Kethvar leaders had come forward with gifts of food and flowers, welcoming the strange visitors from the stars. "Good morning, James," said Kethvar Elder Moonwhisker as she approached the platform. Her golden fur was streaked with silver now, showing her age, but her green eyes were still bright with intelligence. "Good morning, Elder," James replied in the Kethvar language. All humans in the colony had learned to speak with their hosts. It was only polite. Moonwhisker looked out over the city with pride. New Geneva was not just a human settlement. It was a joint project. Human technology had built the tall buildings and clean energy systems. Kethvar knowledge had taught the humans which plants could grow in this soil and how to work with the planet's strange seasons. "The morning report?" Moonwhisker asked. James pulled up a small display screen. "Crop yields are up 12% this quarter. The new mining operation in the northern mountains is ahead of schedule, and we received 3 new trade requests from neighboring systems." Word of New Geneva's success had spread through this part of the galaxy. Species that had never heard of the Galactic Council were eager to trade with the humans and Kethvar. They wanted human technology in exchange for rare metals and exotic foods. "What about the Council patrol that was detected last week?" Moonwhisker asked. This was more serious news. For the first time since humanity's expansion began, a Council ship had been spotted near human space. The patrol had not tried to make contact, but their presence worried everyone. "Admiral Rivera believes they are just watching for now," James said. "They probably do not know how far we have spread." The truth was that even James sometimes could not believe how far humanity had come. What had started as 17 colony ships had grown into something amazing. The colonies were succeeding beyond anyone's wildest dreams. On Proxima Centauri B, human engineers had turned a frozen wasteland into a garden world using advanced terraforming technology. The process had taken 10 years, but now green forests covered continents that had been ice and rock when the first settlers arrived. In the TRAPPIST system, floating cities rode the storm winds of gas giants while mining robots gathered rare elements from the planet's core. The technology for this had come from the Veltar, a species of flying aliens who lived in the gas giant's upper atmosphere. They had been alone for centuries until human ships found them. "Have you read Dr. Vasquez's latest report?" Moonwhisker asked. James nodded. Dr. Elena Vasquez was now the director of interspecies relations for all human colonies. Her job was to coordinate between the dozens of alien species that had chosen to work with humanity instead of joining the Council. The report had been amazing. In 15 years, humans had made contact with 47 different species. Most of them lived on worlds the Council had never bothered to explore. They had been waiting for centuries for someone to find them and welcome them into a larger galactic community. 12 formal alliances now, James said, and more species asking to join us every month. This was the part that surprised everyone the most. The aliens were not afraid of humanity's supposedly dangerous nature. Instead, they were attracted to human energy and creativity. They liked the way humans approached problems with new ideas instead of following old rules. The Kethvar had been the first to see this. When human colonists arrived on their world, they had not demanded territory or tribute. Instead, they had offered partnership. Human technology could improve Kethvar farming. Kethvar knowledge could help humans adapt to their new world. Together, they could build something better than either could create alone. "Elder," James said carefully, "what do you think about the Council's reaction when they learn about all this?" Moonwhisker's ears twitched the way they did when she was thinking hard. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years by keeping everyone separated and weak. They are like a farmer who keeps his animals in small pens so they cannot run away. And now they have learned that some Animals are smart enough to break out of their pens and build their own farms. Moonwhisker's whiskers twitched in what James had learned was the Kethvar equivalent of a smile. A soft chime from James's communication device interrupted their conversation. It was a message from Earth, transmitted through the network of relay stations that now connected all human colonies. Priority message from Admiral Rivera, James said as he read the screen. 3 more colony ships are ready to launch. They want to know which systems we recommend for the next wave of expansion. This was the best kind of problem to have. Earth was producing colony ships faster than the existing settlements could scout new worlds for them. Every successful colony attracted more volunteers who wanted to leave Earth and help build humanity's new empire. What about the Helix Nebula? Moonwhisker suggested. My people's old stories tell of strange lights in that direction. Perhaps there are more species waiting to be found. James made a note to pass the suggestion along. The Kethvar had proved to be excellent at guessing where other aliens might be living. Their ancient stories often contained clues about worlds that had radio signals or unusual energy signatures. Another message arrived, this one from the colony on Wolf 359. They had made contact with a species called the Brindar, who looked like living crystals and could manipulate electromagnetic fields with their thoughts. The Brindar were interested in human music and art and wanted to establish cultural exchanges. Sometimes I feel like we are living in a dream, James said. 25 years ago, the Council said we were too dangerous to exist in galactic civilization. Now we are building our own civilization, and aliens are asking to join us. Moonwhisker placed a furry hand on his shoulder. The Council made a mistake, James. They judged your species based on fear instead of understanding. They saw your differences as threats instead of gifts. A new message arrived, this one from Admiral Chen herself. She was now the commander of humanity's growing fleet, and her ships had been exploring the outer edges of known space. Her message was brief but exciting. Contact made with the Altarian Trade Federation. They are not happy with Council tax policies. Request permission to begin formal negotiations for mutual defense pact. James stared at the message. The Altarians were not some forgotten species on a remote world. They were one of the founding members of the Galactic Council itself. If they were considering an alliance with humanity, it meant the Council's own members were starting to question their leadership. This changes everything, James said. Moonwhisker nodded. Your people have proven that there is another way to build a galactic civilization, not through control and fear, but through respect and cooperation. Other species are beginning to notice. As they watched, the city below them continued its daily routine. Human children played with young Kethvar in the parks. Scientists from both species worked together in the research laboratories. Traders prepared shipments of goods to send to colonies throughout human space. This was what the Council had feared. Not human violence or aggression, but human success. They had tried to contain humanity to prevent them from changing the galaxy. Instead, they had given humans the motivation to build something better than what the Council offered. What happens when the Council realizes how strong we have become? James asked. Moonwhisker looked up at the sky where stars were beginning to appear in the darkening atmosphere. Somewhere out there, Council fleets patrolled the established trade routes, maintaining their ancient order. But here in the frontier regions they had ignored, a new power was growing. The Council will have to decide, she said finally. They can accept that the galaxy is big enough for both of our ways of life, or they can try to stop what you have built. James nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. Humanity had grown from a single quarantine solar system to a network of hundreds of colonies allied with dozens of alien species. They were no longer refugees begging for acceptance. They were a power that even the Council would have to respect. The question was, would the Council be wise enough to accept this new reality peacefully? Or would they try to destroy what humanity had built among the stars? Either way, James thought as he looked out over the thriving city below. Humanity was ready for whatever came next. The alarm bells in the Galactic Council Command Center had not rung in over 200 years. Chancellor Zarthik stood in the center of the circular chamber, his scaled hands gripping the command console as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Another patrol fleet has gone missing, announced Commander Veltar, her crystalline form shimmering with anxiety. That makes 12 ships in the past month. Missing how? Zarthik demanded. Ships do not simply vanish. They are not destroyed, Chancellor. They disappear from our sensors for several days, then reappear at our border stations. The crews report the same impossible story every time. Zarthik had heard these reports before, but he still could not believe them. According to the returning crews, they had been intercepted by human vessels of incredible size and power. The humans had not attacked them. Instead, they had invited the council crews aboard their ships, given them tours of cities that floated in space, and shown them technology that should not exist. "Play the recording from the Serenity Patrol again," Zarthik ordered. The holographic display filled with the image of Captain Mordek, a veteran officer who had served the council for 40 years. His usually calm face showed signs of deep confusion. "Chancellor, I have served on council ships my entire life, but I have never seen anything like this." The human vessel was over 10 miles long. Their cities span entire star systems. They have terraformed dead worlds into gardens. And Chancellor, they are not alone. This was the part that worried Zarthik the most. The reports all mentioned the same thing. Dozens of alien species working alongside the humans, species the council had never heard of or had forgotten existed. "How many species have joined them?" Zarthik asked. Commander Veltar consulted her data screens. "Our intelligence networks have confirmed contact with at least 47 different species. 12 have formal alliance treaties with the Human Terra Coalition." Terra Coalition. Even the name was an insult to the council's authority. These humans had taken their quarantine and turned it into the foundation of a rival galactic power. "What about their technology?" Zarthik asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Superior to ours in every measurable way," Veltar admitted. "Their ships use quantum tunnel drives that can access regions of space we cannot reach. Their weapons are more powerful, their shields more effective, their cities more efficient." A new report arrived on the priority channel. Zarthik read it with growing horror. 3 more council member species had officially opened diplomatic channels with the Human Terra Coalition. The Rigelian Republic claimed they wanted to explore trade opportunities. The Centauri Federation said they were conducting cultural exchanges. The Vega Collective was being more honest. They were considering switching sides entirely. "How is this possible?" Zarthik asked. "We banished them 50 years ago. They were contained to a single star system." The answer came from the council's head scientist, Dr. Zefkol. His floating form pulsed with nervous energy as he approached the command platform. "Chancellor, we made a critical error in our understanding of human psychology. We believed that isolation would break their spirit and force them to accept our judgment. Instead, it motivated them to exceed every limitation we placed on them." "Explain." "Humans respond to challenges by becoming stronger. When we cut them off from our trade networks, they invented better technology. When we denied them access to known space, they found their own paths to the stars. When we said they were too dangerous for civilization, they built a better civilization." Zarthik felt a chill run through his scaled body. "And now? Now they control nearly a quarter of the galaxy's inhabited systems. Their influence is spreading daily. And, Chancellor, our own member species are beginning to question why they should remain loyal to us when the humans offer them better opportunities." This was the truth that Zarthik had been avoiding. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained peace through control. They decided which species could trade with whom. They controlled access to technology and resources. They kept everyone dependent on the Council for their prosperity. But the humans had shown that this system was not necessary. Species could cooperate directly with each other. They could share technology freely. They could explore new regions of space without asking permission from ancient bureaucrats. "What do our military advisors recommend?" Zarthik asked. General Korthmak stepped forward. His warrior species had served as the Council's enforcers for centuries, keeping rebellious worlds in line through the threat of overwhelming force. "Chancellor, a direct military confrontation would be inadvisable. The humans have built defensive networks around their colonies that surpass anything in our arsenal. More importantly, they have allies. An attack on human space would mean war with 47 different species, including some of our own former members." "Then what do you suggest?" "Negotiation, Chancellor. The humans have sent multiple diplomatic messages over the past year. Their terms are reasonable." Zarthik pulled up the latest message from the Terra Coalition. It had been sent by Admiral Sarah Chen, the same human who had stood in this chamber 50 years ago as they pronounced humanity's banishment. Her words were polite but firm. "Honored council members," the message began. The Terra Coalition wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. We propose mutual recognition of territorial sovereignty, open trade agreements, and cultural exchange programs. We believe the galaxy is vast enough for multiple approaches to civilization. Reading between the lines, Zarthik could see what Chen was really saying. The humans no longer needed the Council's approval. They were offering to coexist as equals, not as subjects seeking permission to exist. What about public opinion among our member species? Zarthik asked. The answer came from the Council's information minister, who looked deeply uncomfortable. Chancellor, support for Council policies has dropped to historic lows. Many species are openly questioning why they should pay taxes to support a government that has failed to match human achievements. Some are calling for reforms that would essentially transform the Council into something more like the Terra Coalition. This was the nightmare scenario Zarthik had feared. The humans had not just built a rival power, they had built a better system of government. One that attracted allies through opportunity, rather than controlling them through dependency. Show me their latest territorial map. Zarthik ordered. The holographic display changed to show the galaxy from above. The old Council territories were marked in blue, still impressive, covering about half of known space. But spreading through the outer regions was a growing web of red dots marking Terra Coalition worlds. What made it worse was the pattern. The humans had not tried to conquer Council space directly. Instead, they had expanded into regions the Council had ignored or forgotten. They had found species the Council never knew existed and built alliances the Council could never have imagined. They have outflanked us, Zarthik admitted. While we maintained our control over established space, they created their own network in unexplored regions. A priority message arrived from the frontier. Admiral Chen herself was requesting a direct communication link with the Council leadership. Her flagship, the TNS Defiance, had taken position just outside Council space, close enough to send the message that humanity was no longer afraid, but far enough away to avoid appearing threatening. Patch her through, Zarthik ordered. The holographic display filled with the image of Admiral Sarah Chen. She wore the dark blue uniform of the Terra Coalition Navy, with stars on her shoulders marking her rank. Her hair was gray now, but her eyes held the same determination they had shown 50 years ago. Chancellor Zarthik, Chen said with a slight bow, I greet you on behalf of the Terra Coalition and our allied species. Admiral Chen, Zarthik replied carefully. I admit I did not expect to see you again. Nor I you, Chancellor, but circumstances have changed since our last meeting. That was certainly true. The last time they had spoken, Chen had been a lone human pleading for her species' acceptance. Now she commanded fleets that could challenge the Council's military supremacy. What do you want from us? Zarthik asked. Chen smiled, and in that smile Zarthik saw both forgiveness and strength. We want what we wanted 50 years ago, Chancellor. Recognition, respect, the right to exist as equals in this galaxy. And if we refuse, then we will continue building our civilization with or without your approval, Chen replied calmly. The galaxy is large enough for both our peoples, Chancellor. The question is whether you are wise enough to accept that reality. The communication ended, leaving the Council chamber in silence. Zarthik looked around at his advisors, seeing his own doubts reflected in their faces. The humans had called their bluff. They no longer needed the Council's permission to exist among the stars. More than that, they had proven that the Council's way was not the only way. Perhaps not even the best way. Schedule a full Council session, Zarthik ordered finally. It appears we have a decision to make. The galaxy was changing whether the Council wanted it to or not. The only question now was whether they would be part of that change or be left behind by it. The ceremony was taking place on New Geneva, the first human colony world, rather than in the ancient Council chambers. President Maria Santos of the Terra Coalition had insisted on this location, and the symbolism was not lost on anyone present. The species that had once been considered too dangerous for galactic civilization was now setting the terms for galactic politics. The great plaza of New Geneva had been transformed for the occasion. Flags from dozens of worlds flew in the alien breeze. Delegates from 47 different species filled the viewing stands, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes that would have been impossible to imagine a century ago. At the center of the plaza stood two podiums. At one, stood President Santos wearing the simple blue uniform of the Terra Coalition. At the other stood Chancellor Zarthik, his scaled form draped in the traditional robes of the Galactic Council. Between them lay a table holding 2 copies of the Treaty of New Geneva. Today marks a new beginning for our galaxy, President Santos began, her voice carried by translators to every species present. For too long we have allowed fear and misunderstanding to divide us. Today we choose cooperation over conflict, growth over stagnation. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the observation deck of the Terra Coalition flagship Promise of Tomorrow. The massive vessel hung in orbit above the planet, visible even in daylight as a symbol of how far humanity had come. Chen was approaching retirement now, but she had insisted on being present for this moment. "Quite a view," said Captain Torres, joining her at the observation window. He had been her pilot on that terrible day 50 years ago when they had returned from the Council's banishment. Now he commanded one of humanity's most advanced exploration vessels. "I never thought I would see this day," Chen admitted. "When they locked us away, I thought we might spend centuries trapped in our own solar system. Instead, we spent 50 years proving them wrong," Torres replied. The ceremony below continued as Chancellor Zarthik approached his podium. The old alien leader had aged visibly in recent years, the stress of watching his ancient order transform itself showing in his movements. "The Galactic Council has governed this galaxy for 3,000 years, Zarthik said. "We believed our way was the only way to maintain peace among the stars. The Terra Coalition has taught us that we were wrong." This admission had taken months of negotiation to achieve. The Council's pride had been deeply wounded by humanity's success. Many Council members had wanted to fight rather than admit their mistakes. But the evidence was overwhelming. The human approach to galactic civilization was not just different, it was better. In the 50 years since banishment, the Terra Coalition had achieved things the Council had thought impossible. They had brought 47 species into voluntary alliance. They had terraformed dead worlds into gardens. They had explored regions of space the Council had never reached. Most importantly, they had done all of this without conquest or coercion. The Treaty of New Geneva, President Santos continued, recognizes both the Galactic Council and the Terra Coalition as sovereign powers. We agree to respect each other's territorial boundaries, to engage in free trade, and to cooperate in exploring the vast regions of space that neither of us has yet reached. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as Terra Coalition Secretary of Interspecies Relations, watched with satisfaction as the treaty was signed. The document represented years of careful negotiation, but the real victory had been achieved long before today. The victory was not military or political, it was philosophical. The Council had been forced to accept that their rigid hierarchical system was not the only way to organize galactic civilization. The Coalition's voluntary partnerships and rapid innovation had proven that diversity and freedom could create stability and prosperity. "What happens now?" asked Kethvar Elder Moonwhisker, who had been granted a seat of honor as representative of the Coalition's first alien allies. "Now we prove that cooperation works better than competition," Vasquez replied. "The treaty includes provisions for joint exploration missions, shared research projects, and cultural exchanges. Instead of 2 rival powers fighting over the galaxy, we will have 2 different approaches working together to make it better." This was the true genius of the treaty. Rather than trying to merge the 2 systems into one, it allowed both to exist and learn from each other. Council worlds that wanted more freedom could gradually adopt Coalition policies. Coalition worlds that needed stability could learn from Council experience. Already the effects were visible. 3 Council species had formally petitioned to join the Coalition. 2 Coalition worlds had requested Council assistance with administrative problems. Trade between the 2 powers had increased by 300% in just the past year. As the ceremony concluded and the documents were signed, Admiral Chen reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. 50 years ago, she had stood in the Council chambers as they pronounced humanity too dangerous for civilization. Today, that same Council was asking to be humanity's partner in building a better galaxy. "Admiral," called a young voice from behind her. Chen turned to see Lieutenant Commander Alex Rivera, Marcus Rivera's daughter and one of the Coalition's most promising young officers. Yes, Commander? The exploration fleet is ready for departure. We have authorization to begin mapping the Andromeda approach. 3 Council ships have volunteered to join the mission. This was something that would have been impossible just a few years ago. Joint Council Coalition exploration missions to regions of space neither power had ever reached. The Andromeda approach was a cluster of star systems that might contain a path to humanity's neighboring galaxy. Who is leading the Council contingent? Chen asked. Captain Veltar. She was one of the officers who first encountered our ships during the patrol incidents. She specifically requested to serve alongside Coalition forces. Chen smiled. Captain Veltar had been among the most vocal critics of human expansion. Her conversion to supporting cooperation had been one of the factors that convinced the Council to negotiate rather than fight. Below them on the planet's surface, the ceremony was ending with a celebration that mixed traditions from dozens of different worlds. Human music played alongside Kethvar harmonies. Zephyrian light sculptures danced in the sky while Brindar crystal formations pulsed with electromagnetic rhythms. Look at that, Torres said, pointing to a group of children playing in the plaza. Human kids were chasing each other around with young Kethvar, while small Zephyrians floated overhead trying to catch them all in nets of light. 50 years ago, the Council said we were too different to coexist peacefully, Chen observed. Now their children play with our children as if they had never been separated. A message arrived on Chen's personal communicator. It was from Earth, transmitted through the quantum communication network that now connected coalition worlds across a quarter of the galaxy. Priority message from Admiral Rivera, Chen read. The Senate has approved funding for the next wave of exploration ships. 20 vessels, designed for long-range missions beyond both Coalition and Council space. They want to know if you would consider coming out of retirement to lead the Deep Space Initiative. Chen looked out at the stars visible beyond New Geneva's atmosphere. Somewhere out there lay countless worlds that had never seen visitors from any galactic civilization. Species that might be waiting for contact, or challenges that would require the combined strengths of every known intelligent race. What do you think? She asked Torres. Ready for one more adventure? Torres grinned. I thought you would never ask. The Treaty of New Geneva was more than just a peace agreement between 2 powers. It was a recognition that the galaxy was vast enough for multiple approaches to civilization. The Council's careful stability and the Coalition's dynamic growth could complement each other instead of competing. But most importantly, it proved that the species the Council had once banished as too dangerous had become the bridge that connected different civilizations in peace. Humanity's greatest strength had never been their weapons or their technology. It had been their ability to bring others together and build something greater than the sum of its parts. As the celebration continued below and the stars beckoned, from above Admiral Chen began planning humanity's next great adventure. The galaxy was no longer divided between those who belonged and those who were cast out. Now it was united by the dream of exploration, discovery, and the endless possibility of what they might find among the stars. The Council had banished Earth to protect their version of galactic civilization. In the end, humanity had saved galactic civilization by showing it a better way to grow. The future belonged to all of them, working together among the infinite stars.